Today, we're getting down to business, but we're gonna do it in a non-businessy way. This was just a prop, I'm totally joking, with the blazer. I'm gonna come at you with my actual real work uniform, which is a sports bra and shorts because I own a fitness studio. And now's a great time. Put that hair up, get comfy, and we're gonna talk about business models in a way that is not the kind of way they teach in business school. And how do I know this is not the way they teach it in business school? Because I went to business school and I have a degree in business, and some of it was very helpful when I started my business, but a lot of it also was very unhelpful because the way they taught it made it so overwhelming and really just out of reach and not applicable. Like what they teach in business school is business models for big companies and big organizations. And what I needed was a business model for a small business and an owner operator. So if you've been intimidated by business or business models in the past, just hang out with me for the next 10 minutes and I'm gonna give you a simple model that is going to help you understand how a business works. And especially if you don't have a business background, if you have a technical background, so you really understand your skill or your craft or the thing that you want to do and you don't know how to make it a business, this is gonna help you understand it. You don't have to understand everything perfectly. Just sit with me for the next 10 minutes and sit through the discomfort, okay? Because I know it can be uncomfortable, especially if you have misconceptions around business or making money or sales. This might be a little uncomfy, but sit with it because on the other side of the discomfort is the understanding. On the other side of the challenge is change. That's where the growth happens, and this is going to help you grow, okay? So this is the blank sheet. The whole lesson can't fit on more than this page, okay? So that's where we're going with it. This is business model. You know what? I'll put business model. For non-business. Businessy. That's so not a word, is it? Okay, you're like, I love this already. This is what we need to know. Price times capacity equals I'm running out of space, sorry y'all. I suppose I could have had it written, but I feel like when we write it out together, it gives you a second to digest it. Price times capacity equals your expenses plus your tax plus your profit. So if you did any kind of high school math, you can see this is an equation. It needs to equal one another. You can move things from side to side based on the function. So let's say if you did price times capacity with brackets minus your expenses equals your tax and profit. So you see that's an equation that we can work. And in order for the equation, in order for the business to work, it needs to balance, okay? So what does this mean in a practical sense? There's different types of businesses. You can have product-based or you can have service-based. And sometimes a business might be a combination of the two. So a service-based, that would be a plumber, right? You're coming and the work is the physical service you're providing. A product-based business would say be plumbing supplies. So you're the company that's manufacturing all the pipes and the equipment. And now say you're a local plumbing company and you're expanding, maybe you have like the physical inventory, you actually sell the product and you also sell the service to go install it. For example, like IKEA, you know the furniture store IKEA? They have the furniture and then you can also pay to get the installation. So they have a product business and a service business that's hybrid in one, right? Now, let's take a simple example. Let's start with a service business. And I'm gonna tell you about, where my business was, where it is now, and where I went wrong in the beginning, because this was my fundamental issue is that I did not understand this equation. And we think that if we make it more complicated, we'll understand it better. We actually need to simplify things and take them down, simplify until it makes sense. And this is the thing that didn't make sense to me in the beginning. I started my business. I was live streaming fitness classes on Instagram for free. During the pandemic, it was quarantine, it was lockdown. I'd been a group fitness instructor. I figured I need to work out, maybe I can pretend to teach to the camera like I'm teaching a class, and people can pretend they're in a group fitness class. That's how it started, okay? So I started Instagram, like live streaming on Instagram for free, and people started joining, 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 50 people. And I had people saying like, how do we pay? And I'm like, no, it's free. And they're like, no, please, like, let us pay you. We're working out with you 5 days a week, and like, this is amazing. This is changing my life. I've never been so consistent with fitness. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, okay, I guess $5 a week, but if you can't afford that, you can come for free. This was a fatal mistake, okay? Not because I built a great business. I had people paying clients, but this was my fundamental issue. At the time, I had no intention of starting a business, so I had to learn these lessons the hard way, okay? This is why I share them now with you. My price at $5 a week. Now here's the thing. My expenses were zero because I was teaching on my parents' driveway. It's a pandemic. Tax and profit, well, I had no intention of starting a business. I didn't care to make any money. So that was also zero, right? So we're zeroed out on this side. Now my price at $5 a week, so let's say on a weekly basis, $5. And I had 50 people sign up. So 5 times 50, $5 times 50 people is 250, right? Yeah, 250. So my expenses were zero. You always have tax, but I didn't think I had tax at the time. So I thought I had a profit of $250 a week. I'm like, oh my God, somebody call Shark Tank. I've made it. Like, this is it, okay? Now, I'm trying to service all my members, all my 50 members, like their personal training clients at a $5 price point. So this side of the equation, like the whole thing is just broken. Like no matter what you do, you can't get the numbers. My expenses of my time, I was running short. So the model is just fundamentally broken. Does that make sense? So what I see a lot of, and I want to keep this simple, I want to keep this under 10 minutes as much as I can, is especially when you're first starting a business and it's just you either screw up on the price, the capacity, or both. Typically, a lot of people when they start, their prices are way too low and they are delulu about capacity. You think that you can do way more than you actually can, because the thing you don't factor in is the expense of your time. They all just work, and this is working harder or working smarter, not working harder. We think that we can. Should I try to find this graph for you? If you haven't already watched this, you need to watch this next. We think we can hustle. Where is it? I know it's in here. Hard work gets you results. So up until a certain point, my $5, 50 lines a week, I was making cash money. But then the expenses started to go up because I was not accounting for my time. And then I had to get better equipment, like all these other expenses. So what happened? I start hustling. And it works when I'm working 12-hour days. But then my capacity goes way down because I'm not healthy. So I didn't have the capacity to work that much. So the results actually started to decrease. What I needed was to be working smarter. And this is what we're trying to work on, is understanding the productivity, the capacity, right? How can we get those incremental gains sustainably so we don't burn out, okay? Now, there are 2 types of capacity. And there are 2 types of businesses we're gonna go over, and then that's that. Stay with me. This is the little bonus section. If you're like, honestly, I've tapped out, like tap out here, come back and watch the rest another time. But just try to understand this model. What is your price? What is your capacity? And be realistic with your capacity. So capacity is how much can you serve? Personal. So there's 2 ways you can increase your capacity. You can increase it personally, you can increase it through your business. Personal capacity means working smarter, not working harder. That means taking care of your health and well-being. That means increasing your energy. Why do you think I preach about fitness so much? That is one of the fastest and most simple ways to increase your personal capacity. When you are stronger mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? You can perform better for longer and more productively when you are in a peak state. mentally and physically. Mindset training, that is increasing your personal capacity, right? That's making you more effective. Business, what does increasing your business capacity look like? That is, how can your business serve more? So ways that you can increase this might be through automations, people, or resources, like say systems, let's call it systems. So if you're adding like marketing automations, for example, which I did not want to do, I wanted to do all the communication manually at a $5 a week price point. Like, okay, there's absolutely zero shame or judgment or like feeling dumb here, okay? Because all this stuff, this is through personal lessons, and the way through is you learn, okay? People, so that could be hiring administrative help, right? Where is your biggest bottleneck? And this is way more than we can cover in one day. This is supposed to be the basics, okay? People, systems. Say if you're like a manufacturing business and your machines can produce 100 units an hour, can you make the machines go faster and do 150? Or can you get a second machine so you can now produce 200 an hour, right? So you're increasing the business's capacity. So both of these are helpful, right? We want to work on both. And a little phrase I want to give you is, are you being the business or building the business? Because if you are only increasing your personal capacity, that means you are the business, which works to a certain point. Now there's two types of businesses. This is the last thing I promise. We have two types. Expert and organization. I want to make it tidy, but I also want to write quickly, so it's a problem. Okay, so there's two types of businesses. An expert business. Think of a neurosurgeon, top of their field, right? They are the expert at like some kind of removing some kind of brain tumor or something. I don't know how neurosurgery works. They focus on increasing their personal capacity and their price. If you want to see the top neurosurgeon in the country, the price is going to be very high because that person is so specialized, right? Now, an organization business, that is, let's say, I'm trying to keep it related to neurosurgery. Okay, so say you're making the equipment for you make hospital equipment, right? And you own a business that makes hospital equipment. You can build an organization business. So you're leveling up constantly the business capacity, the automations, the system, and the people. This is the difference between, and this is the thing you have to understand, is what do you want? This is where what you want and the individuality matters, okay? For example, influencers. Influencers are expert businesses. There's only one influencer that is that person that can make those videos and show up online. So what they have to do is either increase the price, like say if they're doing brand deals, really increase the price. So it's a crazy amount for that brand deal because their capacity is limited to them as a person, right? And of course they can increase their personal capacity. Like instead of making one video a day, maybe they can make 2 or 3, but they're still like, you hit a point at that personal capacity, you always hit a point. So then in terms of business, could they have other people making videos for them? Maybe they expand into building a media company or merch business or some kind of organization. That doesn't mean they have to be the one like making the designs on their merch. Does that make sense? So we could dive, I know I said 10 minutes and went a little bit over. We could dive so much further into this, but this is business model basics. These are the things I want you to not understand fully right now, but start to understand. Price, what is your pricing? What is your capacity? You know, this is the money side of the equation. And if you have a better relationship with money, a lot of times you get delulu and the equation doesn't balance. So the core rule in equations is it needs to balance. And that probably means you're being delulu if it's not on this side, okay? Or this side, or just delulu about the whole thing. I know I was, okay? I've been there. Capacity, what is capacity? Like how much can you produce? How can you increase your personal and your business's capacity? Because that means the whole equation goes up, right? You make more money. You have a more effective business. You help more people. You change more lives. Key point. Because having a big business or making a lot of money is not a bad thing. It's a good thing if done in a good way. And then expert organization business, we can make a whole separate video on that. So if this was helpful, leave a comment. Please let me know. I hope this made sense and this helped take away some of the fear around business, around like the suits and the ties and the, you know, fancy look, because if you're building your own business, you're probably in work uniform doing something that you love and enjoy, and what a wonderful thing that is. If you need like more support, you have individual questions, I don't have like coaching calls available right now, but if that's something you're interested in, like you were like, okay, this really, like, you're speaking my language in a way that makes sense to me and I need help figure out my business model, send me a message on Instagram and we can figure it out. Okay, as always, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I love you. See you tomorrow.